Hey everybody, it is Mistakes Were Made, and we are here to do our first cash stuffing for November. This is covering the 1st through the 15th pay period, so let's get started. So we have 100, 200, 300, 50, 400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 10, 20, 30, come on now, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95, 600, 5, 6, 7, 8. $608 is what we will be stuffing today. This is money that is part of our budget. It is a line item, so we do know each pay period how much we are intending to stuff. And that does make it easier for us to be organized and just kind of know what we have available and what we don't. So we are lucky in that respect that we are able to put into the budget what we're going to stuff rather than having to rely on, potentially extra money and things like that. That said, if you are new, we do not stuff every single envelope that we have here. We do have some items that we stuff during the first pay period, some that are during the second, and then we do have a few items that do get stuffed each pay period. So if you are not new here, welcome back. Thank you for watching. And of course, if you're new, I do appreciate the fact that you've clicked on the video to see, what's going on. All right, I probably should have put these where they go after I did my counting, but I am not that organized today, I guess. And by the way, today is Sunday, the 3rd, I believe. So we are dealing with, the effects of falling back, which, tend to, at least for me, affect things far less than springing forward does. Personally, I would prefer we just stay on daylight savings all the time. I know other people rather we stay on standard time, which is what we are now on. I'm not a super fan of that, but all the same, I think we can all agree it would be nice if we would just stick to one thing and not keep doing this back and forth anymore. I don't think it's really necessary any longer. Let's just pick something, stay with it. But of course, I'm voting for daylight savings. Okay, so let's get started. AAA, we do not fund this pay period. We also don't fund birthdays, though my nephew's birthday is coming up next week, so I need to take some money out of this. I finally got an answer from my sister as to, what she would prefer he get, and she didn't really have a big, preference one way or another, but she did mention, if you wanted to give him cash, he would absolutely love that so that he can go shopping for stuff. And so that's probably what we're going to do. Car maintenance, we do fund that. It gets $100. Oops. Some of my envelopes are a little bit goobery, like super bent. They still work though, so. All right. So we'll add this 100, and with the 500 that we put into the bank for savings, we've got 500, 600, 700, 800, $900, which is amazing. Okay, so 11.3, we are at $900. What this also means is we are very, very close, just a few more months to hitting what we are going to consider the maximum for car maintenance, which is $1,200. What I'll probably do is when we hit 1,000 next month is I will go ahead and put the cash back into the bank. And then, maybe I'll just put like a sticker on here so that I know it's ×2 or something like that. Because, these are homemade and I don't have very many of them. Though I might have one. Oh, never mind. I do have one that I made that's for $1,000. You can see it's not anything fancy. It's just some cardstock paper that I wrote numbers on, and then I used packing tape to kind of seal it. So, you can make your own stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we will do that next month. And that'll be an exciting milestone for us to hit. Actually, let me put that in front. And then we'll only have $200 in here in cash once we hit the limit. And what we're gonna do, for something like this where we fully fund it, is we're not going to take the money that we would normally put in here out of the budget. Instead, we will continue to fund as if we were going to put money in here, but instead we will take the money that would normally go to car maintenance and we will, forward fill or more fully fund some other envelope, depending on, where the need is the most. Because I could admit that for some of the things that we have, we really are not funding them at a level that is necessarily entirely helpful. And, for example, clothing, we're doing that, I believe, once a month, and it's only $5. It's going to take a long time to put enough together to actually be able to afford certain things that we might need at any particular time. Even if you're looking at going to like a Goodwill or a secondhand shop, things are still kind of expensive at those places. So that is the plan for this situation. Okay. Christmas does indeed get $12 this time. So let's grab that and see where that's gonna fit. Got our 2 ones and our 10. So we now have 50, 100, 50, 70, 90, 200, 10, 20, 30, 40, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, $264. Now we're supposed to be getting to 350 as our max. I'll be honest, we're getting kind of down to the wire. I don't think we're gonna make it. So I don't know if we calculated something incorrectly, or if when I created this 350 max, that was just kind of an arbitrary number that I put in there, because we figure we have 2 more payments to come in, and that's just going to be $24 more. So that's going to get us to $288. So definitely well off of the $350. We would be $62 off of the $350 at that point. We could add another $12, so we could make it to $300 because Christmas is in the second half of the pay period. But later in the month, so we could say we'd get to $300. I've got 2 nephews that I definitely will be getting gifts for on my side of the family, and then we've got a niece and a nephew on Mr. M's side of the family. So that's $75 each for each of them. I think the $350 we put in place just in case one of another member of the family that has kids ends up being part of Christmas. They're not always there. And so the idea, because they do have young children, was $50 might be enough to cover those. I think we're going to have to reassess and change the Christmas allotment, both what the amount total that we will fund up to is, as well as how much we are funding each pay period. I think that will just, that'll be a lesson learned for this year. So we're at 264 now for what we have here, and I will definitely, have to have some conversations with family members to get an idea of who we should be expecting for Christmas in case we need to, augment this ahead of time, and we'll see what we can do with that, if that's what comes up. Okay, so as I mentioned, clothing is one that we really aren't funding very rapidly or very highly. It's not one we fund this pay period. Dining out and entertainment both, they get $50 each. So we're going to do 20, 40, 50, and then we'll do another 20, 40, and 50. Now, dining out and entertainment, if this is one of the first cash stuffings of ours you've seen, you will notice do not have any kind of tracker. That is because we fill these once a month, and we do not roll the money over. If there happens to be anything left over at the end of the month, then that money will go into our miscellaneous bucket and be distributed throughout the other envelopes, unless the amount is more than about $25, $30. If it's more than that, then we'll put it back into the checking account, which will mean it'll be part of the calculation to go towards debt and savings. I will say, though, as a general rule, we tend to use these up every month. Garden and yard gets $25. I think we'll do 2 tens and a 5 for that. Now, garden and yard, we tend to use this pretty regularly because we do have an active garden, though we just pulled out all of the pepper plants. We pulled out almost all of the tomato plants. We ran out of room in our yard debris bin. We pulled out the what are those things called? The marigolds that we had planted. They were still beautiful and going on strong, but we really need to put the beds to bed. We have another raised garden bed that still has tomatoes in it. It also, I think we pulled out the basil, which was still going, but the leaves weren't looking great. So we just called it and decided, there weren't enough good, healthy looking leaves for us to pull and harvest those to dehydrate. So that went. We have a bunch of cut and come again. Oh golly, what are they called? They're not dahlias. I can't remember. Let me go check real quick. Zinnias. We have cut and come again zinnias, and then we have a zinnia called Senora. And the Senora ones are kind of big gals, and they did very well where they were, and they're still, going strong. We still have some beautiful, beautiful blooms, so it's going to be a shame when I have to pull them out. The cut and come agains, they started off a little bit lackluster, but they have taken over quite an area in a different bed. So those are going to have to come out eventually as well. We do still have cabbage that is, putting up a good fight against something. I don't know if it's slugs that are getting to it or some other kind of pest, but there's definitely some holes in there. And as the weather has started to get cooler and cooler, the growth is certainly much slower. So we'll see how it does. Once we get into, late November, early December, we may have to make the decision of it's probably not going to do much more than what it has done. And then Mr. M can decide how he wants to use it. It didn't really grow as well when we planted it for a fall planting, and I have a feeling it was just still a little too warm for us to have started planting it, and so maybe that stunted its growth or created some problems. But you know, gardening, it's a science, it's an art, and you know, I'm just a dabbler, so we are always very, very pleased when we have anything actually do what it's supposed to and we can go and harvest it. We did start on making our sauce, our tomato sauce, yesterday. So we do have 6 pints, which took 10 pounds of tomatoes. We have at least, I would say, another 40 pounds left. So we should be good with tomato sauce for the winter and into the spring. And up next is gas. And that gets $100. Gas is another one where we don't have a tracker. We use, oh no, I don't want to use $100. I want $250s. We use what we need. And then if there's anything extra, again, we will use it to back fund or extra fund some of these, unless it's more than about $25, in which case what we don't use will go and get put back into the general budget to then be divvied up between debt and savings. We have gifts, but that does not get funded. If you haven't been following along, for us, gifts are for anybody that's like not part of the family. So in the past, we would do like white elephant gifts or spending money for potluck type stuff at work, baby showers, wedding gift, those kinds of things. Luckily, our family or our friend circle is pretty small, so we don't tend to have a lot of draws on that, which is good because then we can build it up, and when we're actually needing to use it, we'll have some money to use. Giving gets $5. And we are at $10, $15, $20, $25, $30. Haven't quite decided how or when we want to do giving. If we want to just wait until we get to the $250, which is going to take some time because we're only doing $5 a month, or if we want to, find something where, $30 or whatever, $50, however it ends up being, is going to be impactful. I'm kind of leaning to maybe using this money to do, like Toys for Tots or something like that, or one of those like Christmas tree giving things that they have at some stores. But at the same time, I would kind of like to be able to, put it in an envelope and just give somebody some cash. But, how do you decide who to give that something like that to? There's, so many people that have needs. So that's going to bear or need some thinking about. Groceries gets $200. And again, we don't have a tracker in this one. It is one that gets refreshed every pay period. So if there's any left over during each of the weeks for our $100 that we spend on groceries, it will get distributed in the same way that other stuff gets distributed. So far, we have been actually spending right about the $100 mark, maybe $1 over, a few cents over. So we haven't really had anything to distribute. Health gets $10. We've definitely had to have money in here. And this is another one where maybe we need to revisit how much we are putting in. We are putting in $20 per month, but meds and things, they are so expensive. So whenever we have to buy, something that falls in the health realm, and that could be, first aid type of health. It could be if you have a flu kind of health. It can be, mouthwash, dental health, things like that. So we've got $10, $20, $30. which means we definitely spent some money recently, because we were at 40 before, and so we obviously spent 20 for something. I think it may have been like mouthwash and toothpaste and stuff like that. That was kind of what first came to mind. Household gets $25 as well. So we'll do 2 10s and a 5. And oops. Had some costs there. The household can, it can be cleaners, it can be, basically anything that to help us take care of the home. 10, 20, 25, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. And, considering everything that could fall in household, as well as, yard and garden, health, all of these, they feel like we're probably underfunding them. I mean, we've been doing okay so far. We haven't necessarily needed to pull money from whatever leftover we might have or impact the leftover at this point, but it feels like we might not be funding at the level we really should be, because we are trying to be somewhat austere in certain areas. License gets $11. But, well, no, I don't think we're quite there yet. We'll do the math and double check where we're at. So we now have 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. $175, which means we are not quite there yet. The limit that we are looking to hit for this is $200. So we have this is an every pay period item, so we have like 3 more pay periods, and then I think we'll hit our max. And the fee time period that needs to be paid by these, which it should only be $100, is not until March. So, we definitely have time to get to where we need to be. We don't have any miscellaneous at the moment. We are not doing pets right now. That's a second pay period. We're not doing prime. And we do taxes. Now, we have been skipping taxes for quite a bit. I would say at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 pay periods. But we have had a bit of a run on Etsy sales in the last week or so. And so with the calculations, that I do on my spreadsheet to determine, where our tax situation should be, we have eaten through the credit that our previous payments into this had made. So we are going to fund at the $20 level, but that will put us ahead again for a little bit. So depending on, how many sales we have, we should be covered for a little while, and the $20 will be available to go elsewhere. So let's see where we're at. We're at 50, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 20, 40, 60, 80, 300, 20, 30, 40, 55, 65, 75, 76, 77, 78. $378. Okay, so, oh, yeah, we didn't end up actually funding anything in October, and we didn't do anything, no, we did do the last September. So it was 2 pay periods that we didn't do any funding. So 378 is where we are at. Now, when tax time comes around, there's a very good chance that because of, you know, what money we make, the fact that I do have the Etsy business and it has costs associated with it that can come off of taxes, we may still end up having enough of a credit from doing our, what do they call that? You know, where you do all the line items. It's not going to come to me. I'm tired. But it may be that even though we'll have income from Etsy, that I'll have income from Etsy, I may still be in a position to end up with a refund and not actually have to pay. If that ends up being the case, this money is going to get distributed into these envelopes, because what we're going to do is, starting in January, we are going to then, you know, do our calculations for sales that happened starting in January 2025 and pull the money from that to determine, you know, to refill this up. We're not going to keep this as a rolling dollar amount, even though I have $2,000 here as a potential end point. This is now kind of erroneous. We are not having sales at the same clip that we used to, like back in 2020 or even 2014 or anything like that. So because it is so slow, and the intent at this point is to just get rid of what inventory we have, it's not even really a business that we're looking to maintain exactly. We will just fund based on the year. So if we don't end up needing this, this has essentially become a little bit of kind of a generic sinking fund at that point. And then we will, you know, determine, we'll probably do it in February, because that's usually when we like to try and get our taxes done, February, early March. We will determine, you know, how much of this was funded in 2024 and then distribute it, like I said, into other envelopes, which that'll be kind of a fun thing to be able to do. Savings, this is part of the money that goes to towards our, what is it called, job loss cushion. We're keeping $500 of it in cash. Yard cleanup, we are not going to do anything with this, because the $100 that would normally go here, the one for the first pay period in November, so this time period, is going towards apples. And of course, depending on how much we spend when we go to the orchard, we may have some money left over. I haven't decided if we do have money left over, if we'll put it towards yard cleanup or if we'll put it towards funding something else, like we did with the junk removal money, extra money that we had. So this one we can actually remove. This was just a temporary envelope. So, you know, that's how quick and easy you can create your envelopes if you have a fund that you want to fund. And then we're back at the beginning. Okay, that is it. That is our cash stuffing of $608 for the first pay period of November. As always, thank you so much for deciding to click on the video and to watch, see what we're doing here. If you want to keep track of kind of our journey and how we're going about things, please consider subscribing. And as always, if you have any questions, if you have feedback, if you just want to chit chat, please don't hesitate to note something down below in the comments, and I will do my absolute best to read them all and react to them in some manner. Most of the time I do try to add a response back. But I do know that there's probably folks that I miss, and I apologize if that is the case. All right, that's the end. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.